All right. Good evening, everybody. Hi, Rachel Northern. Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that means it is time for Tuesday Night Live with Chiro Destiny. And tonight, we have a monster in chiropractic, a beast. We have someone who has trained thousands of chiros on helping grow practices, convert patients into lifelong patients, and understanding chiropractic. Daniel Bai, thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Hey guys, good to be here. Pleasure and honor is all mine. Thank you very much.
It's been a long time. We've known you obviously for 20 years, right? When you were fresh out of school.
Yeah, man.
So first, Austin Cohen jumping right out of the box.
Oh, Austin, what's up?
So why don't you just fill us in? It's a crazy world. You know, the thing we love about you is you're in the game and still adjusting spines all day and then saving chiropractors' lives like as a weekend gig, you know?
So Daniel, tell everybody who you are and what you do. Most people know you, but for those that don't, give them a little background in terms of
what you're doing now,
what you're doing for the profession.
Sure. First of all, I'm the CEO and founder of Close for Chiro, which is a consulting and coaching company strictly for the chiropractic profession on teaching everyone how to get the yes from your patients with less stress. In other words, how to position chiropractic that is consumable to the modern public, where you don't look like a freaking crazy person doing cartwheels with high pies. Right. At the same time, they say yes to your recommendations, right? Yeah. And then stick to them. And let's not forget, and we're not shy about talking about this, that you get paid handsomely the funds and the revenue that you deserve. And I think it's about time in our industry anyway, that someone advocates for the business, right? Not just for the philosophy, not just for the procedures, and not just for the community. Let's advocate for the business, because if there ain't no business, we got no business. You know, you know what I'm saying? So, and I have no shame in saying that. And you know, people are all up in my stuff saying you shouldn't do that, and I'll just come out and saying I don't give a shit. All right, I'm just doing what I know how to do. It's worked so far, and really in the reality of it is, in the grand scheme of things, is one of the things that this industry is lacking, as I study other industries, is the actual art, science, and philosophy of the business for a change. Yeah, and that's what I do. And I'm in practice as well. And it's funny. It's like a weekend gig coaching. Actually, it's reversed. Like Closer Chiro is my main gig. Okay. My practice is my side gig. And I choose to stay in practice because I just feel like if I'm out, I'll just lose a little touch on that, on the very thing that I'm teaching. And I don't want to do that. So I have a practice. We call it, what's a nice way of saying small? Boutique? Yeah, I have a boutique practice.
Yes.
Yeah, that keeps me in the game. But Close for Chiro is definitely my main, it's on my mind 24/7.
So let me jump in for a moment. So Rick and I have coached literally probably thousands of chiropractors over the last 20 years, give or take. And the last time we saw you, you mentioned it was at a super conference back in the early 2000s, which is awesome. But I agree with you. When we coach chiropractors, I would say the day one, day two, especially the report of findings and closing the report of findings. I think we all agree the report of findings is probably the single most important procedure in your practice. Not that the other ones aren't important, but this is the single most important one. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's the weakest of all chiropractors because, like you said, they get caught up in the, I don't want to sell. I'm not here to sell. I went to school to become a doctor, and now I have to sell. I'm not comfortable with that. But as you said, as chiropractors get past that, right? Because their practice is a business and they forget that most of the time. Tell us some of the principles that, without giving your secrets away, because we want to recommend people to take your seminar and webinar, because I think it's fantastic. We've heard nothing but great things about it. But some of the principles behind the business and the close part, because that's what you focus on and that's what's most needed in our profession. So I agree.
Well, Brett, you hit the nail on the head. It's the fact that you don't want to admit that it's a thing. And you guys
it's a thing.
It's a thing. And if there is really a thing, and you have people that don't want to admit it's a thing, there's a reason why they don't want to admit it's a thing. And the reason why they don't think it's a thing is because they think sales is sleazy. They think sales is bad. Now, I want to clear that up. And this is one of the fundamental constructs of what we teach, is that not only sales is a thing, sales does not mean that you're tricking people into doing something they don't want to do.
Right.
That's the old antiquated view of sales, because we grew up with WKRP in Cincinnati. You guys remember Herb Tarlick with the plaid jacket, the big fat tie, you know.
I just remember Lonnie Anderson. I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay,
Brad, I know where you were. Okay, but no, you're not kidding. That's okay. But that's the thing though. It's that old antiquated sleazy I want to convince someone to do something they don't want to do. And
right.
And let's be fair, in our industry, there has been plenty of that as well.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
The scare care docs, the people who position their stuff as
free chicken dinners and
exactly. So you know what? I can't blame them, but we're trying to reposition that into what it really is. What does a Fortune 100 company in the history of capitalism and commerce, what do they think of sales? How do they handle sales? So I try to model myself after the legitimate businesses that have come before us and are currently. What do they view sales? And they don't view it as sleazy. They view it as a requirement, okay? A requirement of a business. It's like A plus B equals C. You need B. And if you don't have B, you don't have A. Right. And so the fundamental concept behind what we do is that if you don't know how to sell something, you don't have a business. Right. If you don't have a business, you don't have a purpose. You don't have a purpose, you're not perpetuating this wonderful thing that we call chiropractic, which in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys agree, is the best healthcare product in the world, hands down. I don't care what anyone says, but we never even freaking get there, because by the time the doc opens his mouth on day one, they're out. Mentally, they're out. Right. The prospect still hangs around because they don't want to seem rude. So they just wait for the time to say, doc, you know what? Let me go home and think about it. And they're gone. Right. Because we didn't understand that sales is a thing, because we were afraid to attack it and actually consume it like academically, right? Yeah. So that you would do everything in your power, right, to get them to understand what chiropractic is, what chiropractic is not, and most importantly, what chiropractic means to them. That's the best I got in terms of the concept behind Closer Chiro.
So let me go just to take that next thing. So now you got a chiro who's, you know, struggling or whatever, ends up in your audience, and the reason they're looking for help from us, from you, is because of fear, right? The fear to confront, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, all of those fears. So before you start getting into here's what to do, you've got to clear their brain out the same way we do. How do you start to help them clear their brain out?
Actually, our approach is a little different. I found, for me, and you guys are way better at this than I am, and I'm not going to say that I know everything about human development, psychology, and even teaching for that matter. What worked for me wasn't the typical clear out first, blank slate, and then consume. It didn't work like that for me. For me, I had to just do it, you know, and have faith that this was going to go somewhere, even though I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Like, what am I doing here? I don't understand. You know, it's like, all right. So great example is, you know, I have a 17-year-old that is a competitive golfer. He travels all over the place. He's great. But when he was 3 years old and I put that Snoopy plastic club in his hand and I told him, hey, do this and then do this, like, did he really know what he was doing? Like, did he understand the ramifications of this at that point? No, he just did it. Then he builds some success and he hits the ball better, and then it grows. And then finally he gets to the point where, hey, I see the philosophy on why I needed to do that. So for me, we throw them in. We tell them strategically. Okay. And here's the thing is, I don't think people buy headspace. I think people, what they do is they buy a solution to a problem. So when someone comes to me and they say, help me, they're not asking me to clear stuff out. They're asking me to teach me something so I can solve a problem. What's your problem? Right. People are saying no too many times. Fine. So here's how we solve it. So we put them into the strategy first. And while we're teaching the strategy, and then it starts to make sense that, oh, I get it. It starts to uncover all the crap that they were doing wrong. Yeah. So that dichotomy and that contrast hits them in their face, and they're like, and we see that. You guys don't talk about it. Like, it's like,
yeah, of course.
Oh my God, like, what have I been doing all these years? I'm totally screwing this up. And then once we got that, I guess that is the proverbial or the analogous opens, clearing it out. And go, okay, I get it. So our philosophy in teaching is, listen, do this. This is the why we do this. Practice this. You got to rep this. It's a skill. So we learn the skill, and eventually, if you don't understand everything on why you're doing it, you will eventually. And that's been our model in teaching this, and it's served us pretty well so far.
Well, it's pretty effective. We know a lot of people that have gone through your program and have raved about it. And like I said, it went from a weakness to a strength. But I think also, if they learn that skill set day one and day two, and then learn all the other crap that they need to learn, right, and put it all together, then sky's the limit to build any practice that they want. Right?
That's it. And by the way, once they accept sales as a thing, they also now leadership training is a thing, right? Yeah. Personal development is a thing, right? CA training and logistically getting a team together that's first class is a thing. Right. I just think that a lot of chiros just live in this ultra world of esotericism, and nothing is really real, and they just go and wing it every single day.
Well, they're certainly not coming out of school prepared. You know that, we know that. They're not, we got out of school a little more prepared than they do now. That's just a fact. Totally. So now you really have people who are disillusioned by, well, it's not evidence-based to say that they needed this, a care plan that you're telling me I have to go sell. So their mind is blown because it's almost like, someone who's been to church their entire life. And now all of a sudden you bring them to the burning bush, and the burning bush says, by the way, you got it wrong. It's really this. Yeah. They're still going to church the next day. They can't not do it. Right. So, for you, like you said, it's get the do stuff done, and then it starts to clear it out. What do you do with the kids out of school who are really just ill prepared? It's the same thing, just the foundational understanding that there's a way to communicate, and here's how you do it. So for the next question is, what are some of the key components to successful communication?
All right, so there was two questions there. Like, what do you do with the kids out of school? It's funny you should say. And I told you this, it's not typically what you hear. I love students. Okay, I just want to preface that because, something bad's about to happen here. I love students. Okay, I really do. But we don't work with them. We love first, second, third, fourth year out. I think they're great. We just don't work with them. Right. And that the decision was very difficult for us because we had to look at this thing from objectively, like a business, and say, okay, who is actually doing the work and who's getting the best results? Because from a business perspective, that's my only wish. I want to do the work and I want to see it happen. And students, first, second year, they would take the course, they would spend a lot of money, they would do their thing, and then they would never use it. So you guys know how that goes. It's like you do everything you can to get something taught, right? Because I think Rick and Brett, you guys are just born teachers, first of all. And so as a legitimate teacher, like, nothing hurts us more than if you teach something and they just waste it. I mean, that is just heartbreaking. Yeah. Or watching talent go to waste, heartbreaking, right? So it was heartbreaking. And myself and Sean and Jen, my two great partners, even Barry before them, it's like, this is what we talk about. Like, why are they not doing it? Like, what can we do? So we alter procedures and plans and even languaging to get them engaged, still nothing. And we came to this realization is that at least in chiropractic and actually in one other industry, in car sales, if the only way a person's really going to embrace this type of training is after and only after they've gotten their ass kicked a little bit. Right. That's what we've come up with, right? So that's why we don't work with that segment directly anyway. We don't advertise to them. We don't, if they really, occasionally they'll call and say, you got to take me. I really want to train with you guys, and we'll take it case by case, but it's not something that we are open to generally. Okay. Second thing is, question was, what does someone need to, I'm sorry, Rick,
there's foundations of communication. There's got to be what someone thinks they're supposed to do versus what actually gets the results. What
Yes.
are some of those linchpin things?
Okay, there's actually one main one, and that's called STFU.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Stop talking. Stop talking. Most chiropractors talk themselves out of the close. Okay, we're starting with 100%, and because we don't know what we're doing, we just chip away until you're towards zero. It's not like patients come in at a 0; they come in at 100, and then we bring them down to a 0, right? So here's my story: is Sally Smith makes an appointment in your office. She calls or she spends time typing in her information. You guys know how hard it is to get information out of us, right? Your email here, we have to be enticed incredibly to leave our email, right? But she does, right? And then she puts it in her calendar. And then come Monday morning, it's on her mind. And then come Monday morning, she has to make sure the kids are fed and goes to school and make sure no one's home from school that day because mom has an appointment. So this person probably takes showers and then puts on makeup or gets dressed, feeds the dog, right? Does the dishes in preparation for this appointment. She gets in her car, probably averages about 15 minutes to get to your office, right? Do you drive 15 minutes just because? She has a destination. She gets in your parking lot. She parks her car. She opens the door. She goes to your front door. She goes into your office suite. She gets greeted by your front desk. She sits down and watch this. She fills out forms. Does anyone do this just because? Is my question. 100%. You're starting from 100%. These people want something. That's what I want every chiropractor to understand. Like, they don't come in wanting to like kick the tires. Like, they didn't want to get out of the rain, right? Do we do that? Do we walk around like, oh, chiropractor's office, let me see what's going on? Like, do we do that? 100%. They want something, okay? So if they say no and they go home and they have to go home and talk to their dog and they have quote unquote no money, right? When they're driving in a, an R8 Audi, right? Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they say no, it ain't because they didn't want it.
Right.
It's because we screwed something up. And I know I learned this. It took me $50,000 with Larry Marks to learn this. Okay. All right. Watch this. Is that it all starts from how you think going into it. And so if you think going into it, you have to make something up. It's different than saying, just don't screw it up. So fundamental concept is STFU. Just shut up. Ask a question and stop. And it's not about you. And that's cliche, guys, right? We've heard it many times, but we can't help ourselves when a patient comes in and we have to tell them all the glorious things about Dr. So-and-so, yourself, when it has no bearing and, frankly, no interest to the patient in front of you, ever. Right.
What do you do about, you guys teach in terms of recommendations? I know you guys teach care plans of some sort, right? I don't know if it's 6 months, a year, recommendations. You get into any of that stuff or not too much?
Actually, no, we don't give docs to have them do a specific recommendation. Pretty much whatever they do, we're going to teach them how to sell it. Okay. So that's why we work with mostly, people who are adjust exclusive, a therapy here and there. That's why we get calls from cosmetic dentists, plastic surgeons, people who are cash-based medical services.
I just want to let you know, Larry just texted back and he said you should have given him 100,000.
Who's that?
My dad. Larry
he could have gotten it. Could have gotten it. This is funny. So where was I?
You're saying cosmetic dentist.
Oh yeah.
You're getting that same request.
Right, because we can't give him a care plan. Like, what are we going to tell a cosmetic dentist? Like, I don't know what you do. But it's not about what you sell. What we're trying to do is teach everyone how to sell it. So it doesn't matter how you come to us. You could be straight, just exclusive. We work with functional medicine docs. It doesn't, I'm not going to prejudge them based on my philosophy. And, I'm tick all the way, man. I'm a life grad 2001. You guys know what I'm talking about. Falling keys and shit. I did all that. I mean, I'm there, but yeah, but really, this is, I guess, our way to unify the profession too. Doesn't matter where you stand. We all need to have people under our care, and they have to be saying yes at a way better rate than they have been.
So let's.
I just want to do a quickie because this is a one-off, and it's just, there's an answer to it. Your opinion, because we get this all the time. How long should a day 2 take?
As short as possible, as humanly possible. Yeah, time kills all deals. Yep. Especially now, because people are so busy, like their attention span is zip, right? And people
you got these people doing these 45-minute diatribes that worked 30 years ago.
Correct. 30 years ago.
Shifted, correct?
Yeah, try 10 years ago, it still worked. You know, I mean, you guys are in practice. I mean, how different is the marketplace 5 years ago than it is today? Yeah, I mean, it changes every day. And now post-COVID, check this out. I think my prediction is that it's going to be even harder to sell stuff because people are just more sensitive to bullshit. So we have a term or a concept in C4C called the bullshit meter. Everyone has one, right? So we have to be really cognizant on not doing anything stupid to trip the bullshit meter. And yes, and having a 90-minute first day with the office tour and the video with the guy in the tracksuit, like we can't do that anymore. Okay, I love the guy in the tracksuit. He taught me a lot, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You know, we can't do that anymore. Like people walk in and be like, what is this, a timeshare presentation from the 90s?
Right.
They're already turned off. The bullshit meter is just wailing. They can't wait to get out of there because if they did that, then what else what other creepy crawly thing are they going to do? And it's not what we need to do.
So let's give a little teaser and just role play just a little bit without giving too much away. So I just have a couple of questions as we kind of roll into it. I'm assuming, because I haven't gone through your specific technique exactly, but I'm assuming that when it gets time to do the day 2 report of findings and the close, that you have kind of pre-framed the patient up to that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so give us a little bit of some of the pre-frame from the end of the first day to kind of what the close is going to be on the second day, without giving too much away, like a teaser, so to speak.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't mind giving everything away because frankly,
well, we want to encourage you to take your webinar.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm not going to hold anything back here. So the pre-frame. So I think what you're asking is, how do we manage their expectations that a recommendation and a fee structure is coming, correct?
Correct.
All right, I understand the question. So it actually all happens on day 1.
Okay.
Psychologically, at the end of day 1, the patient should be saying yes. They don't say it, but they know it, right?
Yep.
So in our system, in our philosophies on day 2, the yes is the foregone conclusion. Now we have to logistically make it possible for the yes. And I think that's where a lot of chiropractors don't understand. Emotionally, they say yes.
Yeah.
Logistically, they still got to work some stuff out, right?
Yeah.
So we got to give them enough time to work that out in their brain so that by the end of the day 2, they can comfortably, right, without any type of misleading, okay, that they themselves say, I want to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. So on the day 1, there's a couple of moments that, in your words, we would pre-frame what's going to happen. So on the first day, there's a couple of points where we set up what's called the obvious statement. So we ask a very directed question, and they say something, and then we're going to reply with, and it has to be timed well, so obviously this is something we want to get corrected, right? And they would say, right. So that, and that's just one, but there's a series of those that happens on a day 1 so that we're kind of cross-checking, like,
yes, hey man, the assumptive close.
Yeah, exactly. The assumptive close. It's like, we good so far? We good? Because if there's any issues, they'll probably say, not sure. And then we can deal with it, right? But usually they go, yeah, we got to get this thing corrected. Here's the other thing. Pre-framing the recommendations. Most of the time, patients come in, I love my patients. I love people. Something bad's about to happen. I love them. But they lie. They lie. Right? So when you have someone coming in with, like, let's say a headache or let's say a low back issue. How long did you have this? Oh, yesterday morning when I picked up my comb from the floor. That's not right. That's not true. Because you've been doing this for any length of time clinically, doctors. I mean, this is most likely 99% certain that at age 45, this dude comes up with an acute lower back. It is merely an acute exacerbation of a chronic condition. I mean, I just know that, right? I mean, clinically.
Right.
So they say it happened yesterday. And you know, that's not, I don't know. You're guilty until proven innocent here, man. Like anecdotally and clinically, I know that's probably not true, but you don't come out and say that like, Brett, you're a liar. Tell me when you first said you lie, right? So what we do is we ask this question. If you guys are taking note, this is straight out of our training that doctors pay thousands of dollars for. We say, Brett, prior to yesterday, when was the first time you recall ever having any type of lower back pain whatsoever? Now, some English people, because English is my second language, I don't know if you could tell, some people would listen to that.
And he's funny too.
Would be like, that makes no grammatical sense. I know it doesn't make sense. But when you ask someone, when was the first time you recall ever having any type of lower back pain whatsoever? Okay, it's a redundant, where I can only ask it once and I'm going to get the correct answer. Right. So then the patient will ponder. I don't know. It might have been, you know what? It was back in high school. It was when I graduated high school. That's when it is. Okay, got it. Now watch the follow-up. Understood. How many years ago was that? And they'll think. Now, I could do the math for them, yes? Yeah. I could look at the chart, I don't know, 1974 birth, graduate. I could do all that. I don't want to do any work. Plus, English, my second language, and I'm horrible at math. I'm not joking. I really am really bad at math. I break all Asian stereotypes, guys, okay? So instead of doing the math for him, I'm going to say, hey, Brett, how many years ago was that? So they're going to have to go in their brain and be like, okay, that was, no. Okay, that was 28 years ago. Now, that's really important because, you know, as Deepak Chopra says, you know, time is relative. And Einstein said that too, I think, before Deepak. Time is relative. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know you probably have kids. Like, do you guys remember when your first kids were born? Yeah, it was like yesterday. Right? It's like, I remember it was like yesterday. So time is relative. So when they have a problem that was in high school, to them, relatively, it was yesterday. It wasn't 28 years long. So when we talk about sales, it's really getting to the truth of the matter because people lie and they lie to themselves. Right. And this person has been going from chiropractor to chiropractor with an acute lower back pain, only going when it flared up, right? Forgetting the fact that this problem started as a small inkling of what it is now, but progressively getting worse because the fifth lumbar disc is now the size of a freaking penny, right? At a point where the thing is going to blow out. But no one's actually asked them a question to kind of see it from a holistic standpoint. And so there's your pre-frame, because watch this. If you let a patient believe that this is merely a brand new problem that happened yesterday, good luck trying to recommend a course.
So in 2 visits, I'll be fine. Right.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Ain't going to happen. Right. But if they truly understand, holy shit, you know what? This happened that last tackle, the last game against Stag High School, and I got really messed up. Yeah. And I remember my parents were worried, and that's when it all started. Oh, and then I became a mechanic, and then I was torqued under refrigeration units for 20 years. And I have other questions that make realizations. And I have colleagues and people in the industry that are dropping like flies before they're 50. I don't want to be that guy. Right. There's the pre-frame for the need for care, but we don't do it now. We just let it just kind of simmer, you know,
marinate a little bit.
Yeah. Because the other thing here, Rick, you know this, chiropractors are so impatient. Yeah. Like instant gratification. Like I got to get it now. No.
Well, we remember they were told back in the day that your day one is one thing to get information, OPQRST, and your day two is when you get to talk and sound smart.
Yeah.
And again, years ago, absolutely true. It worked because you needed to go through the x-rays and you needed to go through your substation scans and your posture pictures and all this technology. But what ended up happening is the docs spent so much time sounding smart that they never got to the close, because that's when the CA starts to knock on the door and scratch the door and the lights are bleeping and the flags are flipping. and now you've got 16 other people waiting, and you got to go right when you really got to what the day 2 was all about. Question we got from Andrew was, how do you feel about adjusting on day 1? And secondary, I want to ask about day 1 in general. Our belief system is day 2 is the close, but as you said, it's sold on day 1. You create a great day 1, day 2 takes care of itself in a lot of cases.
100%.
So number 1, how do you feel about adjusting on day 1? And secondarily, on day 1, what are some of those key components that create that anchor experience?
Yeah, so adjusting on day 1, I don't adjust on day 1. The people, my partners, they don't adjust on day 1. The people who train with us, they don't adjust on day 1 either. And it's not like we have a policy. Like, we don't have policies. We don't be like, you have to do it this way. Okay. We just say, hey, this is the best case scenario. And the reason why we don't like, and we've worked with people who do adjust on day 1. Okay. We don't like adjusting on day 1 is because, and it's not so much a patient-centric thing. It's that psychologically, from the chiropractor's perspective, there's the way to, okay. When I'm adjusting, I'm in adjust mode. I don't know, maybe people understand that. Like, I'm in adjust mode. And when I'm in consult mode and sell, push, close mode, that's a completely different part. I'm still serving, but it's a different part. So when I'm doing a day 1, I can't get in, I can't just put on a different hat that quickly. That's for me, which is why it's always been, recommended that way. If people can do that, I don't have a problem. It's not a deal breaker is what I'm saying. So whoever asked that question, just day 1, okay, I don't do it. But if you want to do it, it's not going to kill the deal here. Second question was.
Hey, but just for 1 second, the patient has to truly understand what's happening to them and the why behind it. So if we're talking about corrective care and you're adjusting them on day 1, they have no idea what's going on or what to expect, and you haven't communicated that properly, and they feel better right away, they may not come back. If they feel worse, that hasn't been communicated, they may not come back. And if they feel no change and they don't get it, they may not come back.
They don't go back. Yeah.
So that's why.
I think, the cons outweigh the pros.
A lot more reasons not to do it.
Right.
Oh, totally. But again, I'm going to be respectful to the people who are viewing this that have certain procedures that dictate that. And, you've worked with a lot of chiropractors.
100%.
It's across the board. So it's not a deal breaker, but
the 3 of us agree day 1 sets up the whole situation. Give us a couple of things that you look for that make day 1 just a lockdown experience for the patient.
Okay. It's right up front. It's rapport building. And another cliche term, rapport, like, what does that mean? I think most chiropractors think rapport means like me, please like me. That's not rapport. Rapport is how little can you say compared to how much the patient is speaking. So there's very specific techniques, and I know you guys know it. It's just to ask questions that are open-ended, that is going to be an avalanche of stuff coming at
the Socratic Method, we call it, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. Again, it's just another way of saying the same thing, but we all screw it up. It's a skill, right, guys? It's not like you have to practice this, And the thing is, I can't speak for the women, but the men, Rick, Brad, I'm sure you guys are married. I mean, you have game, right? Like when you were courting
I don't know if I still do.
Well, now we have no game now, but back then we had game, right? Right. And if when I met my wife and all I did was talk about me to gain rapport, I should have been like, this guy's a creep, right? He's a jerk. Get out. Like, we understand this concept. So it's kind of like that, So it's not yes or no questions. It's not, hey, look how great I am. I have this degree, I have that degree. But the questions that you ask, the quality of the questions determines the quality of your answer. So open-ended questions that are not related to why they're here, just to show some humanity, puts them in a relaxed state because they're already nervous, right? Puts them at ease. And that's the start. Probably the other lock-in on a day 1. I mean, there's so many. It's not a fair question, but
teaser. We're just throwing out some teasers.
Yeah. So the other part of the day 1 would probably be, what have you done, like past medical history? Like, what have they done to get this problem corrected, right? So they'll usually name off, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. And the purpose of that question is not only clinically to figure out what they've done in the past, because you want to know that, but also to set up a string of failures thus far to get this problem corrected, right? Because in my head, you went to the MD, the DC, the PT, you did V&V, and V&V stands for Vicodin and vodka, just in case you want to know. And you've done all these things, but nothing you've done so far has actually gotten the problem corrected. Self-talk,
Right.
That kind of sucks. I don't want to be on this list, self-talk, but I'm letting the patient make that conclusion on their own. So, the other, home run for a day one is that we're not giving our patients enough credit to make a lot of their decisions on their own. We all used to treat them like children, like they couldn't think for themselves.
Right.
And that those days are over. Like they're very sophisticated. They can put two and two together. They can make assumptions, right? And we got to just set it up so they can make those decisions on their own without manipulating them to do so.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, as we come to our close, if they wanted to see more of you, take your webinar, seminar, how do they do that? What's the information behind that?
Yeah, everything's on our website, right? www.closeforchiro.com. We're also all over Facebook. We have a private group that we put all of our Facebook Lives in. And we used to put them on our business page, but they get really uncensored and sometimes unsavory for people outside the industry. So we just try to keep it tight. So if you want all that good stuff, it's like watching a car accident happen. It's kind of, you don't want to look, but you just kind of look. That's kind of how all of our broadcasts sound. So if you guys want to check that out, visit us at the Closers Club. And that's a private Facebook group. And maybe I'll drop a link in the comments after we're done, and we can hook up that way.
Yeah, I think Kimberly's going to put some links up as well.
Just put the link.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so this way they can go right to it.
So obviously when 8 months ago, whatever it is, 7 months ago, when Tuesday Night Live for us started, it started as everybody's panicking. Chiropractic is, we're essential, we're not essential, this, that, the other. So, we now have evolved into, we know for us from Chiro Destiny, 70% of our members have broken their all-time record during COVID.
Yes.
Right. And I know you're seeing it a lot as well, because the world is hungry for what we have. We were seen as essential, and a lot of their medical doctors were shut down. Hospitals they weren't going to, they ended up coming and seeing that there is another world out there that they've never known existed.
Yes.
So our question to you always would be, you have the ear of the profession right now. Chiropractic is certainly really positioned differently than it was even 6-8 months ago. What do you say to the chiropractor who's struggling, who isn't enthralled? They come out of school, they're, like you said, 1, 2, 5 years of sort of playing around and having their struggles. What do you say to them in general about our profession as a whole, and maybe one specific action step they can take to get them on the right path?
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk in generic here. What do I tell them? First of all, I came from a situation where I was forced to learn how to sell because I was this close from getting out of the profession, because the rejections that were lining up in front of me were just so overwhelming. And if anyone is listening to me right now, or you're in that same position, I just want you to know one thing. It's not chiropractic. Okay. Chiropractic, and I said it before, is the best healthcare product in the world. It is God's greatest gift to humanity as far as I'm concerned. It's not that. Okay. You do chiropractic bad, it works. That's how good it is, So it's not that. You're in the right place. And what's the one action step? I'm going to say this. You're not alone. And here's the thing is, before I poked my head out and commiserated with other chiropractors, and I got mentors in chiropractic, and shout out to my first mentor, Dr. David Rowe, huge mentor, Larry Markson, Master CJ Mertz. These guys early on, like, were the foundation. And I knew that I couldn't do this by myself. So all the Chiro Destiny clan, can I call you guys a clan? Yeah,
of course. Cool. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool. The club, like, we're here to do this together, because once it's like llamas, right? Or zebras. Like you get one lone zebra, he's fucked. Like he's dead by himself. He's dead. We stick together. Don't ever feel like you're alone. Find people that resonate with you. Pick their brain, and there's so many helpful people in this profession, and completely altruistic. And that's the one thing about chiropractors that I love, is that they're genuinely altruistic. They genuinely want to help people as the industry whole. We take people like that, and like they want to help. So if you're that person, just pick up the phone or message them. Be like, hey, dude, help me.
Right.
You'd be surprised how many people step up.
Yep. And where do you see the profession the next 5 to 10 years?
It depends on. It depends. It depends on. Can we sell chiropractic? That's what it depends on. It's not a lack of new patients. Really, it's not. I think the industry is seeing new business. They're not starting, and if they start without being sold what chiropractic really is. So they fall off, leaky bucket, right? That's the other problem. So if we can learn how to sell chiropractic at the level that it should be sold, then the future is real bright. Post-COVID, it's going to get harder though, because people are going to be much more sensitive to bad sales and very sensitive and receptive to good sales. As consumers first, we were consumers before chiropractic. Don't forget that. We were very sensitive since very early on what bad sales was, and we innately know and we're repelled by bad sales, right? So now we have to be the good guys. And if we learn how to sell this thing called chiropractic ethically, efficiently, right? From the perspective of the prospective, the patient, we can't go wrong ever.
So, in closing, I just want to say that I think for the chiropractors who are listening tonight, or will see the replay and so forth, we have the ear of the profession. As you said before, and that's why we wanted you to be on here, because to us, you're probably the best at this, and your seminars are great and everything else. I think chiropractors in general have to get over the fact that they are running a business. They do have to sell chiropractic, right? But it's a good thing to sell. It's not a bad word, right? It's a service that if you don't open your mouth and do it effectively, then the only person who's going to lose are the patients in front of you. In essence,
That's right. Yeah.
And the practitioners, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ear of the profession. What would you say to them in terms of kind of repositioning their thought process from selling, and I don't feel good about it, to embracing it?
Yeah, it's a great, Brett, dude, you're good. By the way, you guys are great interviewers. I've done a lot of these, and some of them are abysmal. You guys do a great job. Okay. It's our obligation and our duty to sell. Okay. It's like it's the obligation and duty to adjust. Your obligation and duty to adjust vertebral subluxation by hand only. It's your obligation and duty. If that's your obligation and duty, it's your obligation and your duty to sell. And here's something else to think about. It's about time you stop vilifying modern medicine, okay? Because in the perspective of the prospect, that's so high school bullshit. So we should stop doing that. But I will tell you this, is that we can't blame medicine for chiropractic issues, okay? Actually, medicine should give us kickbacks for all the patients we send them because we don't know how to close.
Right.
We're so bad.
It's true.
At what we do. Okay, so Sally comes to me and I don't know how to close properly. And she goes, I got to go home and think about it because Dr. Dan's a freaking weirdo. She has to go somewhere. Where does she go? She goes there. So if you don't want them to go there, and I agree, that's a bad life. Easy to check in, impossible to check out, right? It's your obligation and your duty to close them into chiropractic today, not tomorrow, next week, today. So we're going to help them avoid that life is a bad, bad, bad thing for them.
Right.
I don't know if that helps you out, but that's what I'm thinking. It's like, dude, if I let this person go, oh my God, like I know what they're going to do. Right. So I can't let that happen.
So that, for those of you who are watching, that's the difference between the right brain and the left brain. That's the coordination between loving and serving and getting paid for it and understanding your duty and responsibility to tell the truth. And fear is about how you feel. And nervousness about rejection, that's you. If you're truly there for the patient, then you tell them the truth. There's never been a neurosurgeon that found a brain tumor that didn't tell them about the brain tumor, right? And said, listen, by the way, tomorrow I'm cutting out your brain tumor. They didn't say, well, do you want to think about it? You want to, I'll give you my best recommendation, or I could give. They're just telling the truth. We've all had those experiences. And Dan, the reason why we love you is because you're telling the truth in a fearless way, because that's what's in your heart to do. And you could very easily, you're certainly smart enough and you're certainly glib enough to bullshit anybody. But if you're doing it from the right place and you have integrity, then it, like you said, there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to hide behind anything. And people are sophisticated. It's not like talking to infants anymore. So we love you for telling the truth, being an ambassador to chiropractic, and you love what we love, which is helping chiropractors love what we all do together. We are part of a tribe, and you're a brother to us. We look forward to sharing stages with you. We look forward to coordinating our care with you, and what we can do for your members and what you do for ours continues to help people going forward. We know this profession's in good hands because of people like you. So on behalf of Brett and the rest of the Chiro Destiny team, we love and support you and salute you. And we look forward to seeing you on future calls, and let's continue to rock and roll, buddy.
Let's do it, guys. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure hanging out with you guys tonight.
All right, we'll do it again. You got it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.